This is Talking Hardcore, the podcast for people who love hardcore history.
You study history because it allows us to understand the present and prepare for the future.
Yeah, it's like Shakespeare or Greek tragedy.
Could you imagine what was in the Library of Alexandria?
I bet it was porn.
I'm not even wearing pants right now, Scott.
What's the old Clint Eastwood line? A man's got to know his limitations. I know my limitations.
The Talking Hardcore podcast is presented by Ace Industrial Solutions. Are you in need of skilled trade professionals for your next project? Look no further.
All right, everybody, you're watching Talking Hardcore. Thanks for tuning in or listening or watching, however you're doing that. It's been a little while. We keep having issues come up when we're getting set to record, but today is a fun episode. We are going to, celebrate our 10,000 streams, and we're actually at 10,500 now. That's how far we put that off.
Wow.
Yep. And then we're also, let's drink to that.
Okay.
Yep.
Gin.
And then we're
Gin.
also here to celebrate the 4th of July, Independence Day in America.
250th
Because-
birthday?
Nope.
200th birthday? 200th birthday. No.
250 is next year.
Damn it. I thought it was this year.
1776, buddy.
Oh, damn. It was the Army's
And
birthday.
Scott went to our public schools.
Woo!
So we're
I'll
here to
drink to that,
celebrate
too.
America. We've got some fun questions from the Discord channel from listeners, and then I've got a couple questions to throw at Matt and Scott. So, Matt, first of all, big announcement. Everybody check it out. First merch
Hey.
is available. Look at right here. Winston Churchill, American flag, half American, part British. One of my
All
favorite things that I
terrorists.
ever said. What'd you say?
Yeah. Half American, all British. Or
No, half American,
half American,
part British.
part British. And,
Yeah, I'm taking shots at the British for trying to claim all
yeah.
of Winston Churchill when he's
You can
half
see
American.
I'm wearing mine because I have also been sent merch as a now official co-host of this podcast.
No, see, that's why we're announcing it today. You guys will have it for the next episode.
Hey,
But
first
check
and
the link
foremost,
in the description, and it should be on our website by the time this goes live.
great.
Links to buy merch. It doesn't really make us anything. It's not right now. It's just
It makes
it's
us
just
cool. It makes
it's
us cool,
just
George.
fun. There's this shirt, and then there's one that just has the podcast name and cool ass logo that we got from
Okay.
Fiverr.
First and foremost, this is a fan appreciation episode because we love our fans.
yeah.
They're how we got to 10,000 downloads, and I just want to say thank you to everyone listening. Thank you to the people in the Discord who interact on a regular basis. There's always some cool discussion going on there. We have a lot of fun. I found really great news in there too, just being submitted by our members. But one of our members, Sunflower, I just want to give a shout out. She recently got married, and we could not be happier for you, Sunflower.
Yep, congratulations, Sunflower. That's a good point, Matt. Heads up.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and so now we got the announcement for the merch, and then we're gonna start with the user questions. Matt,
Before we get to the user questions, can I just do a little quick segment?
sure.
Okay, so
Absolutely not.
here's a little brief overview of this podcast. Okay, so we all here because we love hardcore history. This thing has evolved. We're talking about contemporary news and politics now. It's this whole entity. It's really like fulfilling and it's really cool. And it's become this whole other entity. So I started because I love Dan Carlin's work, and I started a Discord server to talk about those episodes and geek out on the little finer points of his stories. And then about a year later, you guys just popped onto the Discord. We're like, hey, we do a podcast doing the same thing, and and we kind of like checked each other out for a while. You had me on, and had me on more, and we joined forces, and now we're
Then
here.
we realized we didn't really like doing episodes without Matt because we had to do more work.
Yeah. That's why I like this episode. We didn't have to do any homework.
Yeah,
but then
Matt usually carries the the load for the homework.
Yeah,
You know what? Anyway.
What?
Nothing.
Keep going.
So that was like, I mean, like a year and a half ago or something like that.
Yep.
It's been really cool. And then in all that time, you guys did fairly well, but so you had about 823 downloads, and then you announced me as official co-host like
This
3
shit's
episodes
getting
ago. And then
deep.
since then, 9,500 downloads have occurred. So you're fucking welcome.
Oh my God.
That must be the numbers.
This shit is getting so deep around here.
And by the way, 10,500 streams does not count YouTube, and we have a lot on YouTube.
Love you
So
guys.
that's just on the podcast streaming app. So
Love
again,
you,
thanks everybody
YouTube
for
watchers.
listening.
Thank you.
I just want to know who's listening.
People that you say, like
Shout out.
everyday people, you tell them all the time. Well, a lot of those
500
people.
people?
Well, no, a lot of those people listen, and they find us in the Discord server,
Yeah.
which is a huge thing.
Or when you
Yeah.
argue with communists on Reddit.
Yes, Scott got us a lot of people to tune in by going and stirring up shit and trolling the
It's
commies.
Not, wait a minute.
It's
not
definitely trolling.
It's
Just own it.
100% not trolling.
Trolling is a fine art nowadays, Scott. I don't understand. The guy in charge of the whole free world is the biggest troll.
Anyway.
Okay, so Matt, throw out the first question.
The first question was by Jack Simple, one of our regular contributors, really great guy, and he's an interesting fellow too. He's engaged in some cool business. So his question was, historically speaking, preferably, who is the worst person from your state?
Yes, and I think Matt, you should go first.
Okay, I live in Washington State, so the go-to is like we have serial killers up here. Okay, right? So
Right.
that's the obvious one. That's the low-hanging fruit. And I was kind of poking around, and they come up first. And you can give the Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer. You can give Ted Bundy. Those people are horrible, but I chose broader scope. Okay, so what I really went with were the people who violated the Native American treaties up here and caused a lot of havoc. So I have a couple people here. One is Isaac Stevens. He was the territorial governor of Washington from 1853 to 1857. Okay. His role was the U.S. Indian Commissioner and first governor of Washington Territory. So here's his list of misdeeds. He led aggressive treaty-making campaigns with various Native nations from 1854 to 1855, including the Treaty of Medicine Creek, the Treaty of Point Elliott, and the Treaty of Nia Bay. I work in Nia Bay all the time. I know people out there that are really good folks. He used coercion, bad faith negotiation, and threats of violence to force tribal leaders to sign treaties, often under duress or with misleading translations. Like, here, this says this, go ahead and sign it. That's fucking bullshit. Once treaties were signed, Stevens ignored tribal protests and permitted white settlers to encroach on reservation lands. He declared martial law in areas where settlers and tribal allies opposed to his Indian policy, and ordered military action against tribes resisting removal or land loss, leading to the Puget Sound War. I live in the Puget Sound area, and Yakima War. And he famously ordered the arrest of Chief Leshy of the Nisqually people, who was later executed under controversial circumstances. That guy's a piece of shit, okay? Here's his legacy as it's listed. While Stevens is celebrated in some circles for state building, many historians and tribal nations regard him as a primary architect of treaty violations and colonial land theft in the region. So there's one. Second one is George Wright, who was a U.S. Army officer. He lived from 1803 to 1865. His role, he led military campaigns against Native resistance during the Yakima War and Spokane, Coeur d'Alene, Palouse War, okay? He ordered mass killings of tribal horses, 800 plus horses, to break the resistance of plateau tribes, severely damaging their mobility and food sources, and used military intimidation to suppress treaty resistance, enforcing settler expansion over sovereign tribal lands. So there's a couple nice, not nice fellows who operated up in my territory of Washington State.
Yeah,
That's
fair.
yeah.
What do you guys got?
Okay. All right. So I don't know the name of the person that I'm about to tell you about. I'm hoping Matt can Google it while we're talking.
Jamie, pull that up.
It's nice having a Jamie.
Yeah.
Okay. So in Michigan, in the 1900s, the largest school massacre to ever take place happened in Michigan. And it was when a vice principal, I believe, blew up a school because he didn't win an election for a city council.
The Bath school disaster, the deadliest incident of school violence in U.S. history, happened on May 18th, 1927, at the Bath Consolidated School in Bath Township, Michigan. Andrew Kehoe, a disgruntled school board member, set off a series of bombings at the school. Jesus Christ. Killing 38 children and 6 adults. I did not know about this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What Kehoe, angered by tax increases and a loss in a local election, had spent months planting explosives in the school and on his farm. Wow.
So months of preparation.
Yeah.
For that.
Not premeditated at all.
Right. Right.
Like he just did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Woke up one
no.
morning. Yeah. He first detonated explosives at his farm and home, killing his wife. Okay, this guy's going to hell.
Well, she might have had it coming. Let's not.
Yeah, that's a good
Let's
point.
not pretend
don't-
like
yeah, we
there's
don't
not
know
a
the whole
good
story
reason
there.
to kill your wife.
We don't know.
Okay, we don't know what
like.
she was nagging him about. Like, she might
What are
have
you
just
always
been,
doing
like,
at school on the weekends? Not planting explosives, honey. What do you mean? I didn't say you were
Why are you
planting.
always
I
out
just
in your
want you to
shed?
take out the garbage.
Why are you always out in your shed?
Well, she might have been like, "You're a loser because you couldn't win." The
Yeah,
election.
Yeah. Yep.
And maybe he only ran because she talked him into it. All I'm saying is the kids. Yeah, that's not right.
before
But
driving.
the wife, we don't know.
Right.
We don't know.
Right.
I'm assuming that those kids probably didn't have it coming, but the wife
Yeah.
might have. I
Yeah.
just don't know.
One or
That's-
two of the kids maybe, but most of them definitely not. The wife.
Yeah, I mean, there might have
maybe.
been a couple bad kids, but 38,
Yeah, that's too many.
that's a bit much.
Yeah, in a town
Okay.
with only 38 kids.
Right. That was like all the kids.
It's like,
Jesus.
So that guy,
Okay.
Andrew Piho, you said.
Andrew
right?
Kehoe. So he first
Kehoe.
detonated explosives at his farm and home, killing his wife, who may have had
Yep.
it coming, before driving to
We
the
don't know.
school and setting off a devastating blast in the North Wing. As
Kind of sick how
rescuers,
you're laughing while you say this.
this is insane.
Jesus.
As
Yeah, it's
res-
nuts you didn't know about it, right?
You're right. As
When I
rescuers,
found out about it, it's crazy.
as rescuers attended to the injured, Kehoe detonated explosives in his truck, killing himself and 4 others. God, this
Jesus.
guy really did it all with explosives. The
yeah.
attack claimed a total of 45 lives and injured 58 others.
If you
Whoa,
remember,
good one, George.
1920s. Yeah, it's a good one, right? He's a bad
Yeah.
dude. 1920s was early 1920s, late 1919 or 1910s. Explosives were a
You could
political tool,
Yeah.
Oh, that's a
Right.
good point.
right? Like there was a lot of that. There was
Yeah.
the explosion outside of Wall Street. You got to make another drink.
Yeah. No, I just got to grab the bottle.
Yeah, there was an explosion. Hey, can you grab the fireball from over there for me? Hey, over there. But there was an explosion in outside of Wall Street. There was all the anarchists, TNT was relatively new and it was seen to be a political weapon, and this guy took it, way too fucking far, obviously. On the bottom shelf. Scott says he has great vision, but he can't find shit. I don't know.
You drink it.
Your face. Anyway, okay, that's my choice for worst person from Michigan.
Yeah, that's a good, strong choice.
Scott?
Well, this is a little controversial. Nobody's gonna like it. I might be targeted for this one. But honestly, I'm gonna have to say our current governor, Whitmer.
I'll be right back. You take it, Scott.
I have to say it. I mean, her lockdowns during COVID, lots of people died in hospitals by themselves. The management, huh? Oh yeah. Putting COVID patients in nursing homes. I don't understand why that was a good idea or who even thought about that. Or why. It just makes no sense whatsoever.
But they actually did do that. They put people sick with COVID into nursing homes because they didn't know where else to put them, or they couldn't think of a better idea, which is asinine.
Yeah. And
so
then,
we don't know how many people that killed.
when grandma and grandpa got sick or whatever, when they got sick, guess
Yeah.
what? They went to the hospital, and then, family members weren't allowed to see them because it's quarantine and you can't
Right.
be there.
Right.
I'm sorry. It's horse shit.
And then how many old people died because they
They're just alone.
were alone? We know that kills senior citizens. It kills people.
So,
And there was quite a few, I'm sure.
the list goes on. I mean,
But
poor mismanagement of the state's budget.
yeah, but
Push like
what
literally.
that makes her is a bad politician and a bad governor.
Yeah, and it's affecting millions of people's lives.
But I don't think it makes her a bad person.
Okay, she killed more. If that is
Maybe.
okay, hold on. No, if you put COVID patients in a nursing home on purpose, you literally killed those people. You literally killed them.
Not necessarily.
That's literally like putting arsenic in their food.
It's not.
It is.
No,
You are gonna.
It's not.
You're subjecting them
You're
to a
wrong.
respiratory virus.
potentially subjecting them to a
No,
respiratory
100%
virus.
they were.
Yeah, but that doesn't. Again,
So if a mass
Putting
murderer
a COVID person in a nursing home isn't going to kill all the people in the nursing
killed a
home.
lot of them,
We don't know the numbers.
but that's fine. But
You're
it doesn't
making-
matter.
you're
If it
making
kills
large
more than
assumptions.
8, she's a mass murderer.
I'm saying I think there's a difference there between a bad policy made out of fear than a guy who blew up a school. To me, that's not even close.
Oh, but you're right. It affected way more people. With
Yeah,
COVID.
but we don't judge morality by how many people affected.
Well-
We judge intent. We judge intent, Scott.
Well, then it was just poor intent. Then
Yes. Listen, it was
just
stupid
a
and it was
decision.
shameful and it was they were acting based out of fear or for God knows what other reason.
I
But
gotta
the
ask
guy
Clint-
who blew up the school literally intended to blow up children,
Sure,
right? That was the intent. Intent matters.
sure.
That's why for murder, that's a
You
big
guys
deal.
cut out there. You guys cut out.
Can you hear
You
me
guys
now?
cut out. You
What did
guys
we cut out?
Can you hear us?
Yep.
All right.
Just the last
well,
few seconds. The last few
anyway,
seconds.
I
You're
just,
good.
you know, what?
Okay, so Matt, I was making the argument that
intent matters.
intent matters. And so a guy who sets out to blow
I
up a
think you're right.
school is worse than somebody who makes bad policy that results in death.
Well, I'm gonna go to the middle ground here. I'm gonna say that there was policy. I'm gonna view this through the lens of my choice, which was a governor of a state. I listed that guy first, who was enacting policy that was being set down by Congress because the third thing up there was like he was enforcing the will of Congress at that time with aggressively enforcing like Native American treaties and all this kind of stuff. So you can go along with policy and still be a bad person. It depends on how you act on it. We're looking at nowadays how governors are pushing back against the current administration. I mean, they're following their own morals, like it or not, whether or not you agree with them, they're following their own morals. So I think people have a choice in that situation, which is a point for Scott. And another point for Scott. I'll come down on the side of either middle or you, George, at the end of this, but another point for
common sense.
another
100%
point for
right.
Another point for Scott is that I did quote from a governor's misdeeds historically, and who knows how Gretchen Whitmer will be viewed 100 years from now, right? After everything comes out, after all the policies have been updated, after all the decisions have run their course, how she will be viewed. Like I think that's fair, okay. And I think that people going through these things in the present circumstances are valid in their complaints when these things affect them negatively, as he's expressed, But I straight up like going out to your shed for a month and a half, and
But we don't know how long. We don't know how much time he spent
gathering explosives. Yeah, probably
But he
whacking into
planted
tool shed.
bombs.
Yeah, to murder children. Yeah, that's
Because
pretty
he
bad.
was mad about a local election.
That's
Okay.
Yeah.
And to your point, Matt, the people who you suggested, I think they were probably bad people, but historically I don't think they were very uncommon. I don't think what they did would be seen historically as that much out of the norm for how people acted in those situations often. And that doesn't excuse it, because there are lots of people who didn't act that way and were noble and were good at their word and could be taken at their word. But I also think that's just a normal bad human that often gain power. Okay. Whereas when we talk about somebody like who you wrote your book about, that's evil. And so for me, this question comes down to worst person from a state. I'm looking at somebody who's evil. And I can't say that the persons that you named, Matt, were evil. It seems unlikely that they were evil. They probably thought that this is what's best for everybody. And that's not to say that excuses it, because lots of people do evil and think it's best for everybody.
I actually brought that up in my book. If you remember, we
Mhm.
talked about that. We were talking about the
Yep.
nature of evil. I wrote
Nobody
to that dude.
thinks they're evil.
I was like, I think good is what's best for, and he was what's best for the whole race. And he's like, well, the Nazis thought that too. And I was like, damn, you're right, dude. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a whole thing.
Well,
It's a-
and
it's a-
there's
it's a
policy
discussion.
for you.
Well, that's my
Yeah.
point, right? Like,
Yeah.
so this is like,
Mhm.
who's more evil, right? Somebody
think
who's a communist that has policies that end up causing the death of people, but didn't realize that that's where those policies were going,
wait a minute.
or Hitler.
I don't think. Wait a minute. I don't think there can even be an argument made in a rational mind that says Stalin was not evil.
Right. That's why I didn't say Stalin, because he knew
Oh yeah.
what he was doing.
Oh yeah.
But I do think there are good people who are trying to do good that often end up causing large amounts of harm.
Well, there's a whole lot of that though.
Yes. And those people are bad, and we need to be careful when they gain power. But those people are not evil. That's the difference.
Everybody has an agenda.
Yes. Okay. But some people are just evil. I believe evil's a real thing.
Yeah.
I believe it's a real
Wait a
thing.
minute. And if you don't think a governor could over-exercise their authority or exceed their authority,
Sure. Of course.
They're the bounds of their office, which has been done before. In fact, there were a number of protests in Lansing to protest overreach.
Right. And those protests were called all kinds of things. They were called super spreader events. They were called terrible. And then as soon as George Floyd happened, then
That's okay.
protesting racism was
That's
a
okay.
public good.
And that's fine.
But protesting the lockdowns was going to
Hey,
cause
can we
people to die.
walk in on that for a second? Did you
Sure.
hear the recent Tucker Carlson episode where he interviewed the chick who just wrote the book about the George Floyd stuff?
No.
Okay, she wrote a book called "They're Lying," and she's been going. Her husband was the head of the policemen's union at the time, and he came out and said we should wait for the webcam footage, like everything. Just fucking hang on, guys. And they
Mhm.
like ostracized him for that. And she was she had a good job at the time. She lost the job. He lost the
Right.
job. And she wrote about it, brought a bunch of details. So I mean, things happen. You know what I mean?
100%.
Just like, and I want to come down on your side, like ultimately, George, on this conversation, on this issue, because on this thing, because I think you're absolutely correct. Intention matters. That is intention. Okay, here's the deal. I played Dungeons and Dragons, okay, and this is how I discovered this thing.
Okay, hold on, pause. Everybody, when Matt just said that, I hope nobody caused an accident because they were so shocked. that Matt played Dungeons and Dragons. If you got in a car accident because you were so
Breaking
shocked by
news,
that,
Matt's a
sorry,
nerd.
guys. I'm
Okay,
sorry. I hope
so-
everybody's okay.
So in
Go ahead,
D&D,
Matt.
there's this thing called alignment, and it's like what your morality is. Okay, if
Right.
you're a paladin, you're lawful good. Okay, you're the ultimate example of goodness. If you're an orc or some evil creature, you're chaotic evil. Okay, there's this whole scale, and how that can change is based. Take it. A soldier is your intention of the things you do. If you're a soldier in Afghanistan right now, and nowadays, you're going out and killing people, but you're not evil, right? Unless you were delighting in the suffering of others.
Right.
And
It depends on why you're doing
yes,
what you're doing and
yes,
what you're
that
actually
it
doing.
matters, man. Intention is everything.
Because some
according
things
to-
are inherently evil, and some things could be evil or not evil.
right.
Or
Now
evil.
you can go up
Right.
the chain of command with that and say the guys ordering people to do military actions are evil, whatever.
Maybe.
But yeah, I'm not saying Afghanistan.
No,
right
I
there,
know.
but,
I know
yeah,
what you
yeah.
mean, though.
Right,
That's what I'm
right,
saying.
right.
It all depends on the circumstances.
Yes, it does.
And that's why the older I get, the more gray I see instead of black and white.
Ooh, good one.
And it's just clarity that comes with age. Like I used to think things were so much more black and white than I do. And I'm still a person that believes in right and wrong and has moral clarity on most issues. But I also see the gray areas where people can talk themselves into thinking something otherwise, and I have compassion for that. Because that's how humans work.
You're right. Those also might be cataracts making you see gray as you get older.
Yeah.
He needs those cheaters.
No, I got
baby.
that glaucoma.
He's got
No.
he's got glaucoma.
He sells some
alright.
medical marijuana, man. But that's what it is.
This is Michigan. We have recreational here.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
start off young and idealistic, and you think the world is formed of good and evil.
Well,
you
I
know
was
what
never
mean?
idealistic, but I
Well,
was
a
just
lot of
more of
people
a hardcore black and white.
Yeah,
right?
a lot of people do. You see these protests
Mhm.
out there nowadays, and it's tearing the country apart because you are bad, I am good, and they
Yeah.
eat sync that. There's middle ground, and that's what we do here. We talk to each other, and we find
Right.
that we have way
Yeah,
more
like
in
I can have
common.
a conversation with Scott that even though he's wrong, it's fine.
You know, I
the
wish
funny thing
people
is,
could
is
see
you
me.
know.
I rolled
Well, they
my eyes
watched the-
so
this is
hard
on
they
video.
had to hear it.
Well, I can cut that and put that as a clip.
Yeah, I rolled my eyes so hard.
You know I
somebody heard
don't
it.
like our governor.
Yeah,
You know I don't.
I hate her.
I I don't think that's the same thing as blowing up 38 kids.
I think it's worse.
That's
Oh
nonsense.
my God.
No, wait a minute. Even worse. I was on 75 North today. Hold on.
Okay, but
And wait.
38
Wait.
kids.
I have to ask. Hold on, Matt.
Yeah.
Do you have HOV lanes in Washington?
we're supposed to be celebrating. not
Like
bitching.
high occupancy vehicle lanes, like carpool lanes, or
Yeah.
Hippie lanes.
yeah.
So nobody here in Michigan. We actually put our first one in. Nobody here in Michigan is actually following it
Well,
Uh-huh.
because this is the Motor City.
because it's
Everybody owns their own
Hold
fucking
on.
car.
because it's silly.
Everybody.
Okay. So they made a 4-lane highway, and then made one of them an HOV lane
Mm.
from like I don't know 7 to 3 p.m., 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's absolutely ridiculous.
Scott is very
Because
upset.
hold on, because the state is taking taxpayer dollars,
Yeah.
to now arbitrarily just say, hey, this 7-mile stretch of this highway is HOV. Like you can't use it unless there's 2 or more people in the car.
You feel discriminated against.
It's not even discrimination, George. It's a ridiculous policy.
I agree. But
So-
people voted in those people,
No,
so they're
yeah,
allowed
yeah.
to make those
No,
rules.
they're not. That's bullshit. And then no,
I'm not sure you know how
Now,
government
I
works.
understand how government works. I still think it's bullshit. And today I saw literally 6 cops. 4 of them were in the median waiting for somebody to violate that HOV lane so they could pull them over and give them a ticket.
I told you how to solve this. Have a blow up doll in the car,
Sure.
and you
I'm sure they'd
identify
still give
that
you a
as your girlfriend.
I'm sure they'd still give
then
you
you
a
take it to
ticket.
court and prove they're bigots.
But unless you get a conservative judge and he's going to be like, yeah.
Then you take it all the way up to the Democratic Michigan Supreme Court.
It's still
You
crazy.
tilt at that windmill, Scott.
My problem is if it's paid for by taxpayer dollars, there's
Mm-hmm.
no reason why I shouldn't be able to use it, no matter what arbitrary laws or stipulations you put on that piece of road.
Okay, next
Anyway,
question, Matt.
sorry.
What's the next question from the Discord?
Whitmer's the
What is
worst.
what is your least favorite episode of Hardcore History?
Okay, before we get to that, I do want to go. I do want to expand on that last question.
Yeah.
Who is your most favorite person from your state?
Oh, me, obvious. No, no.
That's
no,
awesome.
Yeah,
right
yeah,
answer. Ding,
Yeah,
ding,
yeah,
ding.
yeah.
Matt
Matt's
wins the
being
internet today.
honest. Matt's being honest. I love me some me.
I honestly, I'm gonna.
Carol Owens.
I don't know, but I respect the First Nation history in this state. We have a lot of cool people up here who did great things, man. And so I'm just, I mean, there's tribal leaders you can talk about, like Chief Chexamoka. There's a park named after him in my hometown of Port Townsend.
That's cool.
Yeah, he was, he actually helped, like, when settlers were already established. He was like, okay, what's these guys are being rowdy.
Let's chill this beef.
Yeah. And there's other people or people who just straight up fought. There's really noble culture out history up here of people resisting. You know what I mean? There's if everyone ever goes to Nia Bay, which was mentioned here, go to their Makah Museum. It's the Makah tribe. Check out how they move from their territory and just see everything that happened. I would say some of the tribal leaders that really formed. Okay, Washington State is vastly wilderness,
Right.
and what you will do for free up here is just gape out the window as you're driving. It's really great. There's free entertainment all over the place, and the people who held that down for literally thousands of years were the first people here. So I mean, let's just give shout outs
the
to them.
people here that were there before Europeans. That doesn't mean they were the first people.
Well, what are you doing, Denisovan first, or what?
Well, I'm just saying, who knows, right? That was some tribe came through, then another tribe came through, then another tribe came through, and then 5 more tribes came through, and then Europeans got there, and then we're calling the people there right before Europeans the first people there.
Well, yeah,
but it was realistically probably 18 different migrations of people through there.
It's like the argument.
So I'm not saying
those are
they're
the
not
first
indigenous.
people to which I am referring.
Right.
Well,
the first people upon European contact.
But you know how they probably did that was they're like, okay, you hold this down, we're going to spread out. So it's all the same deal.
Right. But then 200 years later, some new tribe comes over the Bering Strait, comes over the Bering Land Bridge, and
I don't necessarily think that happened up here.
Or comes down from LA.
There was definitely several waves of migration, and this also is just human nature. These tribes were fighting with each other. I mean, you got to remember, if they were here 15
here's the
to
one I know.
20,000 years before us,
I'm going to give a shout out to the Makah tribe, the Quileute tribe.
That's cool.
And
I'm not saying not to respect them. I'm just
and the Ho tribe.
I really hate the term first person.
Those are the people I know.
First Nations. I don't like that term.
I think that's the only term to use.
Well,
no,
so-
I don't like it.
They
Well,
were
it's
okay.
also-
The
Call
people.
them Native Americans.
No, the people who came here first established the first nation on this continent.
But we
okay?
don't know who that was.
Okay, we
That's
don't
my
have to
point.
nail it down to a tribe, but they
Right.
were the first people. So here, let's zoom way, way, way out. Here's how I see the world in this issue. Okay, here's what really happened. Okay, so humans started in Africa and we went east. We went through India. We went all
Mhm.
around those areas. We settlements all along the way. But we were like, we're going to explore. Okay.
Yeah, all these animals here figured out that we can kill 'em.
amazing bravery and intrepid exploration. Okay, we went east. We had India, subcontinent. We
Mhm.
settled that all the way through the Bering Strait. You know what I mean? And then we went west. You know, and maybe at a certain time there was a group of people who said, "Hey, when we meet up on the other side of the world, let's get together and share our stories." So they split up right, they split up left, they got back together, and we started killing each other. It's the same people,
But the
man.
humans have always killed each other.
Yeah,
I'm
it
not, I
doesn't
don't
matter.
care about the killing. I just care about
Right.
the lack of knowledge being passed on.
Right.
At a certain point, we were all doing the same thing. We were exploring this
Right.
world. Okay, we could have
Right.
got back together and said, like, "What did you find over there? Wow,
Right.
here's what we
Or-
found over here. Check this out," and then had this
Right.
thing. But it didn't happen.
You're
that
never
way
going to
'cause
believe
things-
this animal.
Right?
Look at this thing.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
area
yeah. So
of
when you're talking
validation.
about
And
different,
that
different
happened
people,
too, right? That happened too. That's important to remember. It wasn't always fights. There was often times where they would break bread and share knowledge. That happened all
Sure.
the time.
sure.
It's just 300,000 years of history. There was a lot of fucking fights too.
Of course there
Right.
was, because we forgot things and we wanted things.
Oh, and also sometimes, and this is the biggest issue, resources were limited. And then when resources are limited,
People
sometimes
turn-
fighting's the only thing
Yep.
you have left to do because my family's more important than the
Well-
tribe next door's family.
Yeah, and it thins the herd, and
Yeah,
then
that's also
resources
another
become
problem.
more abundant.
That's also a thing. But so my only point there, Matt, is one thing I like to think about. Okay, Mount Rushmore. They talk about how it's stolen land from the Sioux, right? But you know how long? I believe it's the Sioux. Do you know how long the Sioux had it before the United States won it from them in a war? 20 years. They won it in a war 20 years before we did. And yet there's people here doing land acknowledgments to the fucking Sioux.
Well,
I'm sorry, but that's just how life is.
it's no
Shit happens. Sometimes you lose a war.
it's no different than the California, New Mexico, Arizona, Texas argument with Mexico.
Right.
Mexico only was a country or only held that land for like 20, 30 years.
And they never did anything with it.
That's besides the point. They
Right.
only had it for 20, 30 years after the Spanish had succeeded.
After the revolt,
yeah.
the revolution.
So anyway,
But that's the
it's
point,
same
right?
argument.
It's like we have this idea that whoever, like, okay, if the Europeans took it, it must have been wrong. Well, everybody always took shit from other people. So, okay, if we're going to say that's bad, sure, but let's apply it evenly and accurately to everyone then.
But they don't. They look at the.
But that's
the,
my
the
point.
most
Okay, but
recent
this is a happy
perpetrator.
episode. This is not a politics, and let's tilt at the woke. Let's get back to happy. Okay, Scott, who's your favorite person from your state?
I have two people:
Oh, great. I don't even have any.
Ted Nugent,
Fuck yeah.
Henry Ford.
Nice.
That's both
Nice.
good.
Henry Ford was a Nazi sympathizer, wasn't he?
He was euthanized or
Sympathize. Well, no. So Henry Ford believed in capitalism and business, and fortunately, or unfortunately, he was buying steel from the Germans.
the German. Say it
The
right.
Germans
just
who
cut out there.
happened
I
to
think the
become
world just
part of the
edited you.
Nazi Party.
Can you hear it now?
Did you know?
Hold
did
on.
You know-
Pause, Scott. Can you hear him now?
Can you
Talk.
hear me, Matt?
Y-
Matt,
You guys are cutting out. Say everything you just.
God
say
damn it.
everything you just said again.
I don't think that has anything to do with the board, George.
I
Still
don't
cutting out.
either.
You're gonna have to edit this out, George.
Oh, yeah, it's just the
You're gonna
internet.
have to edit
It'll
edit
pick it
this
up.
out, George. Yeah.
So
You're gonna have
anyway,
to edit this out.
Henry Ford was a capitalist that happened to agree with actually, he bought resources from Germany, especially German steel. Like you can go and
So that's what he was guilty of. That's
Yeah.
not that bad.
well, that's, I mean,
Right.
I don't know him personally. I don't know enough about his history, but if you go into the Henry Ford Museum, like his house, there's actually the steel I-beams
Mhm.
have the swastika like stamped into them.
Right.
And it has nothing to do. He might. I have no idea what his affiliations were, but I know he bought steel from the Germans.
But
You know.
that's not a disqualifier.
Of course
Hey,
not.
so I worked at I worked at a place called. First of all, I want to say that I do respect Henry Ford for his ingenuity, his industrialness, and his championing of like really the workforce. You know, and he's done a lot of
Can I
work.
say
was thinking
one
about this
thing?
the other day?
One thing.
Yeah, please.
Did you know
Yeah.
Henry Ford, he would get parts delivered to his factory and they'd come on pallets? Do you know what he did with the pallet wood? Those
What?
were the floorboards for his cars.
That's great, man.
He's like,
That's
they're
great.
giving us this for free. And he put it in the
Yeah.
cars.
He did a lot. So I worked at a place called Port Townsend Paper Mill, and I'm calling you out, motherfucker. So in that mill, for a lot of different shit, they had it was called Crown Zellerbach. It was a German company who built it back in the early 1900s or whatever, and they have swastikas embossed on some of the pipes there because it came from.
They could just put some duct tape over that shit.
We
Sure.
were told, yeah, right. No, it can't because it's steam pipes and it would melt it. So
Yeah.
so we were told that it wasn't Nazi Germany. It doesn't have the eagle on it and all that kind of stuff. But that's the thing. I want.
So
I
they
want
were
to,
Indian pipes.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
It was the piece. It was peace. So I want to jump back really quick, and something occurred to me. We were talking about. I want to come down hard on the settlement of the whole First Nation thing. You're right, George. Wars happen and people lose. And when we did Indy, remember that when we did the book club for that? Yeah. So we did that episode based on the recommendation of Dan Carlin, and
Right.
that was our book club. And I was just like, hey man, they killed these people, and you're like, dude, one fierce warrior culture from this part of the world met another fierce warrior culture from this other part of the world, and
Right.
they lost. And that's what happens. We see it with the Greeks, we see it with the Romans.
Mhm.
Everybody does it, and we are living through that as Americans. And at a certain point, you need to suck it up, and it sucks. And we're living through the days of that. So I'm coming down hard on the side of that with you again, George. I think you have a good point. I still think the people who fought are cool.
Right. And then, so I'm going to change this question because I had a better pick, maybe not
Uh-huh.
better, but another
Uh-huh.
pick for worst person from the state. And again, I'm going to ask Matt to look this up.
Yeah.
The motherfucker who decided to put lead in gas.
Oh, yeah, we were, yeah.
Or was that a Pennsylvania guy? I think he might have been a Pennsylvania guy. But he worked with DuPont and he worked with GM. And they knew lead was poisonous. And they added lead to the gas anyway. And they told people it wasn't going to be dangerous, knowing that it was probably terrible. And they literally wreaked havoc on the world because of that. We don't know how many people that killed, but it's millions.
There was like a Reddit thread on this. It was like who's killed the most people, and it was like the inventor of the atomic bomb, whatever. But this guy was like came up. He was from Pennsylvania. He was from Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania.
Right. But he worked in Michigan.
He worked for GM. Yeah.
Yeah, he worked for GM, so he was in Michigan. That was the one. Okay, so what was his name, Matt?
Thomas Midgley Jr.
Midgley. Okay, so
calling you out, motherfucker. Where's your family? Shane.
Right, there's a great YouTube video by Vertasium about this.
Yeah, we were talking about this.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. Like they knew lead was poisonous anyway, and they're like, well, let's aerosolize it and just let everybody breathe it in. You can't in cities, certain cities, you still have to be careful what plants you grow in your garden because there's so much lead in the soil. And if you track violent crime, it's 20 years behind the curve for the track of leaded gas. Violent crime and leaded gas raised by 20 years difference. So the kids that grow up with the leaded gas by the time they reach 20. So as leaded gas goes up, 20 years later, violent crime goes up, spikes and goes down as leaded gas goes down. It's fucking nuts because that's what it does to it. Damages those parts of your brain and literally makes you stupid.
When did they stop using leaded gas?
70s.
Oh.
And there was a lot of violence in the 90s.
Yeah.
And then it got less violent. And there's a lot of talk about how the Romans mining lead.
Oh, and
led to their cities,
lining them in the aqueducts.
Yep, and also the cities where they had smog of lead that they were mining and refining.
Yep,
led to a lot of stupid Romans.
I'm looking at this dude's picture on Wikipedia right now, and he straight up looks like a serial killer.
Yeah,
so,
well,
wait
that
a
makes
minute.
sense.
Not just stupid, violent and stupid.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. It
Well,
it fucked
those
with
two
your
often
brain.
go together anyway.
No,
They can.
there
For
can be
dudes.
smart, violent people.
Yes,
Oh, there's plenty of smart, violent people.
absolutely.
I interviewed one and wrote a book about it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah,
Right.
no.
Okay, so that was. I don't have a. Okay, so the favorite person I have from the state. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and go with the easy answer and say my wife. Fuck you guys, I win.
Oh.
Yep. That's why I'm winning husband of the year. Okay, so next question. Matt,
She'll never watch this.
Yeah,
and
but
never
I can
hear it.
tell her
Oh yeah.
and not be lying. So I win.
Okay.
I'm gonna send your wife the clip of you not
You are
picking her.
such a suck up.
You picked Henry Ford.
I'm
gonna tell your wife.
no, it was
You
a
like
tie.
her more than Henry Ford.
Ted Nugent
Or you like
and
Henry Ford more than your wife. That's what I'm
Yeah,
gonna tell
well, I
your
didn't
wife.
say Gerald Ford.
Yeah, that's why I didn't say him. The only president from Michigan,
Yeah, no, he was
never elected.
he wasn't a good president.
Anyway, okay. Least favorite hardcore history episode.
Okay, so I'm gonna take a cheat on this one because I don't really have a least for Well, okay. So I looked through all the episodes and I realized that there's this one called the Organization of Peace, which is it's like episode number 3, and I have no recollection of this episode. It's about the League of Nations, and
I remember that.
I really don't have any memory of this, so it must be my least favorite because I have the least memory of it.
Okay. My least favorite is going to be somewhere in the middle of Supernova in the East. Probably like
Wow,
the third or
really?
fourth one
Why?
because it's all battles.
I hate you.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
My favorite Supernova in the East is the first one, where he's getting into the culture of the Japanese and all of that. But when he's lost in all the battle stuff, that's where it loses me. And I still like it. Again, this is picking hairs, right? Your least favorite hardcore history episode is still probably one of your top 100 podcasts.
Yeah.
Okay, like let's not pretend like that's not the case. But I love the ones where he gets into the ancient cultures more. That is my jam. Thor's
Interesting.
Angels,
Okay,
the
cool.
whole series on Russia
Oh,
or
yeah.
on the Vikings, excuse me.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Twilight
Awesome.
of the Aesir. Yep.
Yeah, Twilight of the Aesir and Thor's Angels was kind of tied to that. I mean, I love that shit, and I'm loving the Alexander one because there's less information about individual battles when you go 2,000 years ago, right? But in the like Supernova in the East 2 or 3, it is like just like okay, then there was this battle and then there was this battle, and I still like it, still very interesting, but it's just not what I go to hardcore history for in my favorite place. All right, Scott, you.
I don't have one. I can't even. I'm looking at the list and I'm
You
just
can't
like,
think of one that's not awesome.
I mean,
Well, what about Thor's Angels? When we did that trivia, you said that
Okay.
one wasn't one of your favorites.
no, Thor's Angels is not one of my favorites.
So you can say that. That's
But
okay.
I wouldn't
Again,
say.
still top 100 podcasts favorite ever.
Yeah, but I mean, going back and if there was okay. I like the battles. I like the
I know you do.
detail Dan goes into. I like the strategization.
Sure.
I like the timelines. When it gets a little too, but I like Charlemagne. I like when he was talking about Charlemagne.
Fascinating.
I mean, yeah, super fascinating.
Yes.
So I can't say I didn't like the episode, but it's just a little too slow for my
Sure.
for my
That's
taste.
fair. Listen, everybody comes to hardcore history for different things. And I think a lot more people listen to hardcore history, love the battles. I mean, Dan started as a war game player,
Yeah.
right? I would never do that. Like, I'll play Risk. That's fun. But I don't want to get into the whole crazy, these soldiers can do this and that. And it's not my style. That's not what I like. I like history in the broad strokes to learn about human nature and not about who won which battle.
So
as much.
this is a
Yeah,
point
but
I
those are
come to.
broad strokes too.
It's just not as important to me.
When I think about this, man, I think about your passion for the it's the Death Rows of the Republic episodes. Okay.
Fucking love them.
Yeah. So
So I
like
like those too, though.
you
Yeah.
like the legal history of how the Roman Empire,
Yeah.
the Republic changed. You know what I mean? You're an
Yeah.
attorney. Like that matters. Human nature matters in the law, and the law
Yeah.
matters in society. Like this is very important stuff, and that's the procedural stuff that some people skip over in favor of the gnarly. Okay, you know what I mean?
Right.
But it's hard to get people to pay attention to that. Dan's making it exciting. He's top-rated like history podcast in the world. You know what I mean? And he's doing a great service to those elements of
God, he
our
makes that history so much
past.
more approachable. Even the Supernova and the E shit, he makes it so much more approachable.
Yeah.
Even when he's going about battles, he still takes time to talk about the crazy shit the Japanese were doing to the prisoners, and he makes that real, right? Like, I love Supernova in the East still. It's just those ones in the middle where it's a lot more battles aren't as cool as the one where he's talking about the beginning, where he's talking about how the crazy Japanese culture that led to those kind of soldiers that were willing to do those things.
Yeah.
Sure.
But they all tie together. So in the end, Supernova in the East as a whole is awesome.
Well, did you ever watch the movie Letters from Iwo Jima?
Yeah, we
I-
talked
you know
about it
what's
on this podcast before,
I
man.
own it and I haven't watched it.
Yeah.
I recommend you watch it.
I
Okay.
should. I have it on DVD.
Hey, check this out, guys. This whole thing came up with me. Oh yeah, so Jack Simple posted this recently, brought something to my attention, which is
Shout
great.
out Jack. One pause, second, Matt. Shout out Jack Simple. The fucking best Discord name. And I can't say it without saying Simple Jack.
Yeah.
Because Tropic Thunder is an all-time great movie. And
Yeah,
it should
is.
it'll go down as one of the last great comedies.
Yeah.
Probably.
Like, you could never make that again.
You couldn't Blake.
Robert Downey Jr. was in blackface the whole movie.
You couldn't watch Blazing Saddles again.
Yeah,
You
but
couldn't
this
make
is even more.
You couldn't
Tropic
make.
Thunder took Blazing Saddles and we're like, okay,
No.
I see what you did, but let's go further.
No, I don't think so.
Robert Downey Jr. was in blackface the whole movie.
Yeah, and
At
nobody
one
cares.
point, the black guy, he goes, "What do you mean, you people?" And then the black rapper goes, "What do you mean, you people?" Unbelievable. And I love Blazing Saddles, but Tropic Thunder was like built on. They stand on the shoulders of Mel Brooks.
It's just that you
To
couldn't,
make Tropic Thunder, they literally stood on the shoulders of
you
Mel
couldn't
Brooks.
make Airplane again.
Yeah, but Airplane was nowhere near as good as Tropic Thunder. Let's
Oh no,
be
I'll
real.
go with you on that one. I'm not saying it. I'm just saying.
Booty Sweat.
Yeah, and he's gay.
Oh, it's hilarious. That movie is amazing. So Simple Jack, every time Jack Simple in our Discord channel, every time I read his
I
name,
read Simple.
I
Jack.
read it as Simple Jack and I laugh inside.
Yeah.
Because that movie's so good. And if
And-
you haven't
Okay.
watched Tropic Thunder, go watch that.
So we talked about Letters from Iwo Jima on this show about a year ago. We were talking about Dan Carlin's episodes about we did a review of the Persian stuff. Okay, you know what I mean? And so, or maybe it was a trivia episode or something. But
Mhm.
we were talking about his depiction of Alexander up until that time because he had not yet come out with
His Alexander series.
Mania. Yeah, right. So he had depicted Alexander as an outside force because he was talking about him from the perspective of the Persians, and now he's
Mhm.
called him Darth Vader, right? This great monstrous conqueror is coming to mess your stuff up. So I compare that to Scott Letters of Iwo Jima, where it's all from the Japanese perspective, and when the Marines land, there is this huge roaring force that just comes onto the beach and starts wreaking havoc because that's what Marines do. So that was interesting to me in that regard.
No, I got to
Um,
watch that.
Now, Jack Simple posted an episode of Jocko Willink's podcast where he interviewed the son of Eugene Sledge. Eugene Sledge was a mortarman Marine in the Second World War in the Pacific Theater, and he wrote a book called With the Old Breed, which is about a Marine's experience at that time. One of the
Yep.
greatest war memoirs ever written, okay?
And also, I believe Band of Brothers Pacific is based on
Correct.
a lot of his writings.
Yep. So,
Cool.
Eugene Sledge's son came out with a new version of that book where he pulled from the archives and got the stuff that was cut out and then added his own commentary. And I highly entreat everyone to check that out. It's just a remarkable. I want to read that book, but that episode also is good. But everyone should read With the Old Breed.
I have one thing
Cool.
to say. Eugene Sledge, I have to say, what a contribution to history. I mean,
Amazing. As I understand it, he wrote that memoir years later after his experiences, and only wrote it so that his parents could understand what he went through.
yeah,
Oh, shit. That's dark.
it's crazy. It's great. There's all kinds of
I'll
stuff.
check that.
Yeah, you should check out Eugene Sledge.
Yeah, definitely. That's a book club suggestion. Let's do an episode on that.
Shred up.
Yeah.
That's the next one. Okay.
Yeah, let's do an episode on that. I'll read
right.
it and then we'll do an episode, and
Okay.
I'll watch Letters from Iwo Jima.
Good book.
Okay,
Good movie.
next question, because we're gonna try to keep this light and fun still. Unless you got to go, Matt. Are you good?
No, I'm about to make another drink and make this an
Okay, go
official
make
party.
another drink, and then we will get to the next
have
question.
a brief intermission.
No, I'm not going to cut this out. Let's just keep talking while Matt's there. We could talk about Matt.
Okay, we'll talk about Matt.
Yeah, ladies, he's still single.
Yeah.
As far as I know, he's still on the market. Hop on now. Okay, I'm going to be honest. This is a pitch for Matt because I love him. He's a good author. We're writing a book together that is going to be great and is going to sell a lot. So if you want to get in on the ground floor,
Well, wait a minute.
you should get with Matt now before he's a well-known best-selling author.
And he's also written another book.
He's written
already
several books, and they're ready to go publish-wise. But the one we're working on is going to be a game changer, and you should get in on the ground floor. Legit, ladies. If you're interested, now's the time.
No.
Because
that's-
pretty soon Matt's going to have a lot more options.
This is terrible. Don't pitch it this way.
Well, I'm just going to be honest. In life, that's how
Matt's
life
broke.
is.
You know what? He's a good dude, but he's broke.
So get in on the ground floor.
Yeah, exactly. No.
Buy low.
Stop saying
What you do
that.
is you buy low
and you sell
and
high.
you sell high.
Yeah, no,
So
I don't
buy
like
low.
that. I don't like
buy
that.
low.
Ladies, you
Get
just,
him now before he's a published author.
if you like
That's buying low.
if you like Dungeons and Dragons and science
If
fiction
you like nerdy
and
guys
history.
into history and role-playing games,
and science fiction, don't forget science fiction.
but who are fun and nice.
Yep, then Matt's your guy.
He's also a good author,
Yeah, and he's a good author. There you go.
which shows wit
Yeah, but
and smarts.
you know,
You can't be a good author and be stupid.
You can't focus on the financial, George.
If you want kids, he will give your kids genes of at least some. There will be some value in the genes he will pass on to your kids. So, ladies, let Matt knock you up.
Great. How romantic? I'm sure
Hey,
that's exactly
let's be honest.
what they want.
That's what their ovaries are telling them.
That no.
When a woman finds intelligence attractive, why do you think that is, Scott? Because it signals that their genes are going to be good to give to their kids.
Ugh.
That's why.
I don't want to say what I was going to say. You know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say it. It's because their genes are lacking the intelligence feature.
No, that's not it at all.
Oh, it's got to be.
No, why
You
wouldn't
look
you?
for somebody
No,
that is
wrong.
that complements you as a
Evolutionarily, that is not how it works.
100%.
No,
Yin and yang.
no,
You look for somebody that complements you.
no.
Yes.
No,
100%.
no.
Yes.
First of all, that's not what guys do.
Well, that's
Second of all, that's not what women do.
well.
Women look for things they find attractive. Why do they find intelligence attractive? Because it signals good genes. Why do they find humor attractive? Because it signals intelligence.
Maybe.
That's why. Why do female peacocks like the big giant tails? Because it signals good genes. Because if they can survive in the wild
while
with a
advertising,
giant, huge, bright tail and not get eaten by tigers, they must be pretty healthy.
sure.
So that signals good genes. Intelligence is another honest signal.
Or all the males are that way. So.
No, but they're not, because the ones that you got eaten.
Well, that's true.
So you don't see them. So it's an honest signal of health.
Maybe they were just slow.
Yeah, which is not good if you're a female peacock and you want your kids to live.
Yeah.
So it's an honest
Maybe
signal.
They were just slow.
Just like intelligence can be an honest signal of good genes.
Sure. it
That's
can
what
be,
women look for.
But it also might be something you're lacking and that you want for your
Why
offspring.
wouldn't you want your kids to be smart?
I don't know.
Right, you would.
Some people, you know what? Some people
Okay.
focus on physical features.
Yeah, dudes. I'm talking about
No,
women.
women do too.
Less so. Statistically, much less so.
Lies.
No.
You're wrong. You're
Every
wrong.
study
George,
that's
you're wrong.
been done on this
You're wrong.
shows statistically women care about physical attributes less
Wrong.
than men
That's wrong.
because women are less visual and more mental about how they
90%
pick
of
a mate.
women, 90% of women are chasing after 10% of men,
Yeah,
and they're not
but
the
the
brainiacs.
10%, you're wrong.
They're not the brainiacs.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, so Elon Musk has how many kids?
Well,
Oh, Jeff Bezos is doing well for himself.
you
think
does
any
Jeff
of these-
Bezos even have kids?
You think any of these billionaires have a hard time getting really hot women?
Oh, billionaires? Sure. How
No.
many are there?
How many millionaires then?
I don't know.
Okay, because it's an honest signal that you're going to be able to take care of those kids.
Maybe.
And
Sure.
deep down, women find that attractive because why wouldn't they?
Yeah, but I'm talking about. Like,
Sorry, Matt. This started as a pitch for you. We when you walked away, we pitched you as still being signal and why women should be into you. And I mentioned that you are a great author who is writing a
Intelligent.
book that is going to take off. So I think they should get in on the ground floor.
And I told George
I
that
said
is
you
the
buy
wrong
low,
pitch.
buy
That's the
low.
wrong pitch.
Yeah.
You don't want a woman just
Well, I
wrong
don't
because of
know.
what
I
you
can't
can
just
be.
go lie to him like, hey, Matt's got a huge dick. I don't know.
Yeah.
But what I do know is he's a good author.
You know what? Just because
Matt, can you hear us?
I can hear you. You cut out for a while there, and you came back in with Matt's got a huge dick, and I've just been like silently agreeing with you ever since.
Wait a minute. I'm waiting for the classic line. I'm not even wearing pants right now, George.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's getting in the new intro.
That's awesome. Okay.
All
right. Okay, so where were we at now? That was
You're
all the
supposed
questions.
to keep it light and fun.
Oh, it was. That was fun.
This has gotten fun.
I
Well,
made
now
I
it
made a
is.
5-minute pitch to get Matt married off.
Matt, I'm trying to help you, buddy.
Yeah.
George is trying to help you, but I'm trying to help you in a better way.
Yeah.
I want
Thank
you to,
you. I appreciate
want you to
that,
find a
Scott. We'll
soulmate.
talk.
Yeah.
I don't want you to find a gold digger.
I'm just
That's
trying.
the deal. That's the deal.
I'm just trying to give him options.
He
Anyway.
okay.
Okay. So here's the next question
Brad
that I
Chad.
came up with. All right. Next question, because we're out of questions from the Discord.
No.
What is your favorite thing about America? Since
Wow.
this Friday will be July 4th, and if you're in America, July 4th is our Independence Day. In July 4th, 1776, the Founding Fathers declared their independence from England and sent the King the Declaration of Independence, signing it, knowing that they were going to be declared traitors, and if they lost that war, they would be hung, drawn and quartered, lose all their property, and in general, just bad things would happen to them. And they took that risk based on principle. Okay. So, what is your favorite thing about America? Matt, you go first.
We're still doing it. We're still
Hell
doing
yeah.
the thing that made us great in the first place. People get mired down in the bullshit that happens day to day, and there's some big stuff going on nowadays. But I still feel fired up about this country, about the possibilities, about what I
Fuck
could
yeah, you
achieve
do.
here. I was born here, and I think that people who are born here, I'm a white man who's born in America, okay, to a middle class family. That's privilege. It really is. I don't want to go check your privilege, but it really is. So I think people who are born
Being
here
born in
sometimes
America is privilege.
don't take advantage of the possibilities as much as other people do. So I really
Sure.
see this from the immigrant experience because I've had friends who came here and you know what I mean, really made the most of it. Like immigrants who come here and their children become doctors. Okay, you know what I mean? Like it is a
All the
very
time.
important thing. Yeah, we are still providing the best possible life for people anywhere in the world. Okay, we have
Bar none.
strength and freedom. To do whatever we want. It
Right.
really doesn't matter what your class is, what your race is. There's always
Preach
going to
it.
be class and race stuff in the
Can I
world.
get an
okay?
amen?
But this truly still is the land of opportunity. Measure
yeah, it
it
is.
by everything else that's going on in the world, and you will
Right.
find us high above everything else. I don't care about the economy. I don't care about the current politics. I care about the core of this nation, and we still have people flooding to our borders, seeking the
For a
American
reason.
dream, and it absolutely still is alive.
Fuck yeah, it is.
Hmm.
That's exactly right. The American dream is still more than alive because in this country, you still have the freedom to do anything.
And choose.
You can immigrate here, you can apply and get a visa, and come over here and work as a cab driver and have your daughter or son become a fucking U.S. Senator. And there's not a lot of places on earth and a lot of times in history where that is the case.
Well,
That is the dream. If you're a parent, that is your dream, is that your kids can have a better life than what you had. Especially if you had a shit life. Because then it puts it into perspective. And that's part of the problem now is so many people have had such an easy life that they don't understand what it is that
they
bad.
lost. Well, they're not. They're
No
too far
perspective.
zoomed in. They have no perspective.
They expect things to be given to them rather than working for it.
They
And you
haven't
co-
listened to
it-
enough hardcore history episodes.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. You come here, you work for it. That's the thing. That's the thing about America. You get what you work for. You get into it what you put out of it. You know what I mean?
Fuck yeah, you do.
Yeah,
Cheers.
yeah. It's not.
It's a
you're gonna be,
meritocracy, and it's never
Yes.
perfect
Yeah.
because nothing humans do is perfect. But it's the closest thing to a meritocracy in the world.
I love
All
that.
right, my favorite thing about America. I'll tell you this one because I just had this conversation with my wife today. My wife,
Who is not a Native American. She is American citizen now.
yeah, no, she's been a citizen for like 10 years now.
No, it's not 10
No,
years.
whatever, 6, 8 years, whatever.
Right. She's from Russia.
Sasha immigrated from Russia in, God, I don't know, 17 years ago.
Right.
She came over on a student visa, went to Michigan State, but we had this conversation today by chance, and she goes, America is everything. She goes, because you can look, if you want to find, an African American man, you can find him. If you want to find an Arabic man, you can find him. If you want to find a white man, you can find him. We have everything here.
That's
She
accurate
goes,
too.
Even if you go to Russia, it's Russian food
It's Russian people.
and Russian people. She goes, you go to Europe, you go to Finland, it's Finnish people and it's Finnish food.
And she's traveled all these places.
Oh yeah. She's been all over Spain, France, Finland. God, I don't remember Germany. And she goes, but anyway, any country you go to, that's all that's there. So yeah, you can have German food in Germany, and maybe they have some other types of food
In a big city.
Yeah, but it's not like it is here. You
Right.
can go and have Mexican food tomorrow and
Anywhere
Chinese food
in the country.
Yeah, literally anywhere in the country.
Matt, you live out in the sticks. I bet you can get Chinese food or Mexican food
Yeah, I can.
Or pizza.
or
Yep.
pizza.
Or
Italian
pasta.
WOP
Yeah.
food. We're gonna say WOP food
You can have Mexican and
because you
Italian
can still
food.
racial slurs
I'm
about
sure.
the Italians.
Do you have like do you have halal food out there? Do you have Mediterranean food?
Not really. Not where I live. No, that's
That'll get there
unfortunate.
eventually.
Yeah.
Sure.
We
I'm
have
just
we have a
saying, so-
falafel there in the next town over. There's a falafel place, and
Well,
I went
there you
there,
go.
and it
That's
was
the same thing, yeah.
it was not up to my standards.
It
of
wasn't
falafel.
good.
No.
But I'm just saying, that's what I love about America. One, you have options, you have freedom to choose, and we are a melting pot. We
Yes.
still have, and even though we have some racial issues,
The reason
No-
we have those issues is because we have all the races.
yeah, exactly. No other.
You know why
country-
there's no racial issues in all these other countries? Because there's only one fucking race.
Well, well, Europe's having problems right that now. So,
That's true.
but that's more like religious issues instead of.
Well,
any-
no, it's also racial issues. You can bring a lot of immigrants in, and if they don't assimilate, that's bad.
Yeah, and typically it takes
Immigration is great, but you need assimilation with immigration.
by the second generation.
Sometimes.
you should have. You
Sometimes.
should.
Yeah.
Anyway,
as long as you have a culture of that.
that's what I love about America. Okay,
That's
So,
a great one. What I like to
Yeah.
say when we talk about America and we talk about that is like we take things from everywhere else and we mix them together and make something even better. Right? Like that's what we do.
Chinese.
You know what's better
Mexican
than
and
Mexican?
fusion.
Oh, I've wanted to do that for years.
Chinese Mexican and
Oh, a
fusion.
Chinese Mexican fusion restaurant would be amazing.
Yeah, so,
I've thought of so many recipes.
so you can get pepper steak with carne asada.
Oh, a fucking
I'm thinking
you
salsa.
get
I'm
carne
thinking I'm a
asada with
vegetarian.
an egg roll.
Oh,
I'm thinking I'm a vegetarian, so I'm thinking salsa on tofu. I don't even
God,
know.
that sounds so gross.
have
I
You're
know.
so sad.
Actually,
Yeah, so 5 minutes while you were making a drink, selling you as a husband,
and
and
then
then
you
you
fuck it up.
talk about
You
tofu.
just fucked it up.
You ruined it. Everybody
No.
turn it off. Pretend Matt didn't say
I could
that.
get plenty of women being a vegetarian up here. Trust
Listen,
me. I
women,
cook all.
if you
I'm a
want-
good
if
cook.
Matt,
I cook
if
all my-
you're
I
really
make my-
hot, Matt'll eat meat for you.
I mean, no, I will not. I make my own stir fry. I make my own
He'll eat
stir
a
fry
fish
sauce.
taco.
Yeah, I will eat a fish taco. I will. Yeah, if that's an allusion to something.
I'm having the right amount of Fireball. This is perfect. We're talking about fish tacos. Matt, Scott, go make yourself a drink. And I'm going to tell you why I love America.
Yes.
Right here.
There's a lot more liquor. Go make yourself a drink.
I'm just gonna finish this off.
All right. Here's what I love about America. Besides with the two things you both just said, which are great things. When you come to America or you live here, there is a culture that respects and honors excellence and achievement. If you start a company here, everybody's pulling for you.
Yeah.
If you start a company in a lot of other countries, they're all like, fuck you. You're too big for your britches. Just go work at a factory and shut the fuck up. Here, there is a culture where we honor people that work hard.
That create
And
things.
guys, that's not me.
We're
right?
innovators. We're
Yes.
inventors.
And I'm none of those things. All right? But I respect
You
that-
invented
that-
this podcast, dude. Come on.
Right. True, but I respect that we have a culture that respects that and honors that and pushes forward that as a good thing, because that's what drives the human race forward, and that's why America is so fucking important, and that's why it is such a good idea for everybody to just be able to agree that America is good. And that doesn't mean we never made mistakes. That doesn't mean we still don't make mistakes. That doesn't mean that we can't admit mistakes that we've made in the past. But if your default setting is that America is evil and the world should shun us, or we are not the shining light for a lot of the world, you're wrong. You're just wrong. Go live in one of those other countries that you love so much and see what it's like. It's not the same. You want to go bitch about America? Great. You can do that here because you have freedom. Go to other countries that suck and then try to say they suck and you go to jail.
Or they kill you.
Go to England and make a Facebook post they don't like and they go to jail.
Yep.
That's England. That's one of the most free fucking places on the planet. And you can't even make Facebook posts without worrying about going to jail. Here, we have the Bill of Rights. The freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of religion, the right to bear arms. Those things make America great. The founding fathers, some of them argued that we didn't need a Bill of Rights because it would limit the rights of the people. But the others who demanded the Bill of Rights were smart enough to see that if we didn't put it in writing, the government would take it. And that has proven to be true.
Yep.
And the Supreme Court does a good job of honoring the Bill of Rights. And sometimes they make mistakes because they're also just people. But the fucking Bill of Rights is unique in the world.
Well, yeah.
It is unique in the world. We're going to give people free speech. I'm saying this wrong. We're going to admit that people have free speech. It's not given to them by the government. They have that right. The government does not have the right to infringe on it. They have the right to bear arms based on the rights that they were born with.
Sure.
The government does not have the right to take it away. That is such a big deal, that little difference. Rights don't come from the government. They come from the fact that you were born a human. Okay, that you were born a race that is a people that is intelligent and can reason. And maybe from God. That's what the founders would argue.
Yeah, the divine.
But they don't come from the government. The Bill of Rights does not give us rights. It limits the government from suppressing our rights.
Well,
that is unique in the world.
They also just got done fighting a war,
right,
based on those very same principles.
Right, but they took all these years of British common law and all these years of British development from the Magna Carta on down, and they said, let's put this in a fucking constitution. And let's write it down. A written constitution written down. And then let's protect those people. Let's make sure that we are clear that those rights that they are born with cannot be infringed on by that government we just created. And that's what the Bill of Rights is. It is a limit on the government to keep them checked from infringing on rights they do not have, the powers they do not have.
They're right. The government does not have rights. The government does. I think that's a great statement. The government does not have rights over certain things in our lives. Okay,
we were born with those rights.
Yeah,
they are
and the exact definition of the things we need the government for should be subjected step by step according to practical necessity.
I have one thing to throw into that.
Right. They are inalienable rights, Matt.
That I think is actually being infringed then. The Third Amendment. I think that's being infringed upon.
Explain. The right to have
freedom of press.
merch.
No, that's the First Amendment. First Amendment is speech, religion, and press.
Oh, I thought
they're all in one amendment.
So freedom of speech is tied up with publication in that regard.
Yeah.
Speech, I think
press,
the First Amendment
and religion.
I think the First Amendment has some issues.
What, your freedom of press?
Yeah.
No, you don't understand.
I think it's being influenced.
Okay, and that's why a lot of these Supreme Court cases that are going to come up are important. Bernstein v. Biden is going to be a huge case with the Supreme Court because the White House under Biden literally told Twitter to suspend him. Now, some of the other cases in the Supreme Court, there wasn't good standing because they couldn't prove that it was directly influenced by the White House. Here they have emails from the White House telling Twitter to suspend him, and then he got suspended. That case, that's going to help. That's going to help take the First Amendment into the modern era.
Wasn't that lumped in with something else that already got thrown out?
No. I do not believe so. Double check me here. But in my recollection, Trump did not settle that. They wanted it to go forward. There was the one where it was Louisiana and Texas against Biden because there was people in their state. But the difference there was that was a standing issue. The Supreme Court held that those plaintiffs did not have standing because they couldn't prove that the Biden administration directly influenced Twitter to suspend them, okay, or Facebook. But here, there is emails, okay, direct emails from people working in the White House saying, why is Alex Bernstein still on Twitter? When all he was doing was publishing actual FDA studies. That is going to be a big deal, and that will help. I wish they found that there was standing. So the problem in the other case was you had all these Congress people saying, well, if these social media companies won't suspend, we're going to have to legislate and take away 220. We're going to have to take away their Section 220 rights. So they threatened them, but they didn't say, if they don't suspend this person, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was hard to prove standing. Standing means you have the ability to bring the lawsuit.
Yeah.
It's a legal issue, just like jurisdiction, which we should talk about in a minute. But standing is a legal thing. You have to bring a court case, you have to have standing, which means you have to prove that you were harmed individually by a certain action that was directed at you.
Well,
so they were unable to prove standing in that case. Now, embarrassing for v. Biden, they were able to discover emails in the lawsuit against Twitter in California. They found emails from White House Chief of Staff to Twitter demanding he be suspended. Literally saying, censor his speech is what they were saying. That's going to be a big deal. And when that gets to the Supreme Court, I love it. Let's fucking go. Because they shouldn't be able to do that. The federal government cannot use private entities to do things that are banned by the Bill of Rights.
well, they shouldn't be able to violate the Bill of Rights to begin with.
Right. But
Even if it is a private
but they
entity.
weren't. They were pressuring
Sure.
private entities because the
But-
Bill of Rights only covers you from government action.
Yeah, but look.
So they had to be able to prove that there was some kind of government interaction.
And there's been some stories I've read on government influencing of algorithms that
Mhm.
push one narrative versus the other.
Right.
I mean, why don't we just? You know what? And this way. But
Man,
one
this
thing,
is also
George,
tricky.
the one thing is, you know what? I used to like the news. Give me the truth, and I'll decide where I land
Word.
based on my own my own intelligence and my own.
But it's never been like that. It just felt like it used to be like that, but it was never like that.
Never. Walter Cronkite was like,
Do you
he
realize,
would say, and this is the
do you
news.
realize that during the constitutional crisis in the late 1700s, different parties owned different newspapers and would publish different things?
Sure.
That has always been the case.
Sure.
Okay.
And then that led into
You
the
could
Civil
never
War too.
trust the news. Never. It just felt like we could.
Hmm.
Because we didn't know. But now we have the internet. So now we know that we can't
Yeah,
trust
but we
anything.
don't know. But
We can't trust anything.
Exactly.
Which
So if you
sucks.
have a
It's-
public policy, a health policy that's being instituted by a federal organization, you know what I mean, and it's vocal mouth, and you have someone out there speaking against it, and they legitimately think it's causing harm. The federal government has a right to say shut this person down because it's causing harm. Now, the things may have changed. I'm just going to steel man this argument. Okay,
So I don't think they do.
they got if it's causing public harm, they do
No.
because they're
But they don't.
Right.
Because the First Amendment. They don't have a right to
So
say shut this
speech.
person
Well,
down.
I could go out there and say, hey, everybody, stick your dick in a cheese grater. You know what I mean? And they're
Right.
going to be like, okay, I'm going to go do that. Now I'm publishing something that's harmful, and the
Right.
and the federal government has a right to say this dude needs to shut up.
No,
Shut
what
him
they have a
down.
right to say is that's a really stupid idea.
Well,
Don't do it for these many
they-
reasons.
They,
But they don't have a
George,
right to
hold on.
silence you.
They also did the same thing with Joe
Well,
Rogan
on
with
certain
his-
platforms-
with ivermectin.
Matt, we talked about this before,
We did.
right? We talked
Yeah.
about this before, and I
We have.
disagree here because I don't.
Well, you're not disagreeing with me. You're
I'm
disagreeing with the
disagreeing
state.
with everybody.
The statement, yeah, and I've looked into this case before, and that's how it came to my mind that it
I
had been
think
part of
they
a
have a right
previous
to tell these companies.
lawsuit that was shut down based on.
Maybe
so
they have
his
the
is
right to
probably
tell
his
these
is probably
companies-
going to be dismissed on those.
I think
grounds.
they have the right to tell these companies we think this is wrong.
I think
what
in
he's
this
saying
case,
is
yeah,
wrong.
yeah,
But
yeah,
what they were
So
actually saying
there's
is
a different thing there.
you
You're
need
about
to shut
publication.
this person down.
Okay,
Because
that's the
what they're
thing.
saying is going to cause death. You need to censor them.
Yeah,
What they should
Yeah.
have been saying is, here's why they were wrong. But they weren't saying that. They were saying, shut this person down.
so they were
and
giving
it turns out
command
in
rather
every
than
one of those cases, they
like
were wrong.
an education. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
But they were wrong in every one of those cases with COVID. All these people they wanted to censor
okay,
for reasons
intention matters. We talked about
they
this.
were
Right?
wrong.
Okay,
And
intention
that's
matters.
why free speech fucking matters. Because we need to be able to hear the difference of opinions and figure out who we think is right. Because in America,
Yeah,
we
I agree with
believe that.
that.
the
I
common
agree with that.
person
I
has
agree with that.
the ability to make
Yeah.
smart, educated
Yeah.
decisions.
Yeah.
And now, maybe that's not the case.
I think
But
publicly
that's how our whole
broadcasting.
fucking system works.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and you know what?
Pub,
No, it doesn't matter.
Go ahead.
public.
No. Like I got the Pfizer shot, both of them, based on two facts,
Right,
misleading facts at the time.
right.
One,
Me too.
I wasn't going to pass it on to my 1-year-old daughter at the time or my wife,
Right.
which is false, and they had to know that was false.
They didn't even test for that.
Well, then that doesn't. Then why were they
But
saying
they
it?
pretended like they did.
Well,
and they
that's
didn't.
bullshit.
Of
So I
course
was
it is.
misled, and then that's okay.
Yeah. No,
Why
it's
is it
not
okay?
No, it's not. And that's why Fauci belongs to jail.
Well, it just makes no sense to me then. Or you don't have to wear a mask.
The fucking mask thing is the most bullshit thing ever.
I know they made shit up.
No. They knew that masks didn't work from the very beginning.
Did it because of a
Masks
shortage, right?
Never work for respiratory viruses that are as contagious as COVID.
Did it? Because I don't want to spread misinformation here, but as I understand it, there's something about a shortage, so they put it out there that didn't work. I'm not sure how accurate
Right.
that is.
Well,
That's what they said.
And then
but
later
what
on,
they
they
said
changed
is,
it.
okay, so at first Fauci said they don't work. And then they comes out, he says, oh, we just said they didn't work for shortage because we didn't want the doctors to not be able to have masks.
Yeah.
None of that's true. He said they didn't work because they don't work.
well,
But then they needed to be able to tell the people to wear masks so that the people could feel safe.
and
That's all it was. It was a fucking lie to make people feel safe.
and
The worst one. Go ahead before I finish.
well, and if you're looking at a measurement level, a virus is the size of 1 to 2 microns.
You
and
can breathe vape through a fucking N95
I know.
mask.
My point is,
Yeah.
the mask, the like an N95, or no, I'm sorry,
Even
an
an
N95 does okay,
It doesn't do anything for
but a
COVID.
surgical mask does absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
It absolutely bandana. People wearing bandanas.
The surgical mask is in case you sneeze.
Yeah.
And that's why they wear it when they're doing surgery.
Yeah.
So they don't sneeze into an open fucking wound.
Because the mask doesn't block anything.
It doesn't
less
block your breath.
than 10 microns. So
It's
I mean,
horseshit.
If we're
And
talking
they
about,
lied to us and they made little fucking kids,
yeah, my daughter
wear
was
a
one of them.
mask
My daughter was one of them.
for a years. In some states, you're lucky. Michigan wasn't that bad. For some states, it was for a long time. And we know what that does to kids' development.
Sure. And why do you
But
think
they sacrifice kids on the altar of we need people to feel safe. And that's why the government can't be in charge of speech. That's why we need to be able to hear different opinions.
and we all got COVID. And it wasn't even that fucking bad.
For most
Cheers.
people, unless you had certain comorbidities.
Sorry, Matt.
I mean, look
Cheers
at
to
me.
you too, buddy.
I'm a big guy.
Yeah, but
It's not like I'm in the pinnacle of health. And I've had COVID multiple times and never even was that bad. So let's be honest about it. All right. And that's not to say that everybody's going to have the same thing. But what they did to the world for that was horseshit. Horseshit. And that's why you don't trust the government. That's why you don't trust doctors. Because doctors
I don't trust the
financial
government.
incentive.
I don't trust the government because, okay, I posted something in the Discord today about the price of eggs.
Yeah.
Okay, so I went into, I work like in between these cities called Port Angeles and Square. I live in, like, okay, so
Hey, Matt, we don't want people, stalkers, to show up. Just say
Wait a
you
minute.
live
no, I'm
in
going to
the
give you
six.
broad.
When's
I'm going
gonna
to
find
I'm
The
going to give
women
you
can
broad.
find them by sending a
I'm
message
going to
on the
give you.
Discord channel.
I'm going to give you broad strokes here. So Northern
no
Olympic.
crazy
I've
people
already
stalk
given
Matt.
my
We need
location
'em.
based on the tribes.
At
of
least
who I
wait till
interact.
Matt finishes this book.
Go ahead,
So
Matt.
I've already given my location by generally by the tribes with whom I interact. So you can triangulate me as you want.
Hey, don't
So-
suggest that to people.
So there's this city called Port Angeles. It's it's
Is that a whale's vagina?
yeah,
might
that's what it
have a
means. That's what it
wild
means.
night.
Yep. So that's on like the central northern peninsula of Washington State, and then to the right of that, to the east, there's a city called Sequam. It's a large farming community. I love it there. I live in between those cities. Okay, so I don't technically
Maybe. Allegedly.
right. Technically, my address is Port Angeles, but you're not going to find me by that.
God
I
damn it, Matt.
live in the hamlet of Crane, outside the city of Port Angeles.
He's making this up.
No, I live in a. I'm
Matt,
serious.
stop.
I'm
telling
proud. I'm
people where you
proud.
live.
I'm proud. I live in a hamlet. I love that. So out here,
Hamlet's a cool name.
yeah, it's a small community based on, agriculture and people interacting through various industries. Okay, so we
Sounds
built
like
our
it's out
own.
of Shakespeare.
It's really
Well,
what
'cause the
America
name's
really is
Hamlet,
about.
asshole.
Is it people growing their own things and like trading with each other? It's the best. So
Circle
here
jerks.
we have farm stands and we have chicken
Yeah.
farms. You know what I mean? So when you
Sure.
go out to buy your groceries, you're not going to Safeway or Walmart if you don't want to. You create your own economy by going to the local farm. You just drive down the road. There's my egg stand. Okay. Hey, they have a sign out there. It says fresh eggs, $5 a dozen, and it's
Sure.
open or closed based upon how many eggs the hen laid that day. And that price has not changed in the years I've lived here for 2.5 years. The price has not changed. That's what it is. Okay, you know what I mean? So like, I don't trust it. So I went in between those, right in the area where I go. So it's down the highway, but there's rural places around it. So I was driving down the highway this morning to get to my second stop of the day, and I stayed up too late last night working on our book, George. And I
Hell
didn't
yeah,
eat
you
dinner, and I
Ladies,
drank a
get
little
in
too much,
early.
so I was not feeling my best.
Get on
I
the
was
ground
not
floor.
feeling my best, this
Sure.
morning, and I didn't eat dinner, which is a usual thing for me because I'm a fucking alcoholic and you got to eat. So, ladies, I'm a fucking alcoholic. Anyways,
No, he's not an
so
alcoholic. He's
I
just
needed some
skinny.
food in me, and like
he doesn't
there's
actually
this-
have to
so
eat 3
around
meals
here,
a day.
a lot of places around here, a lot of places have been bought up. You guys cut out again. You're right. All right.
I can hear you. Can you
I'm
hear
not
me?
sure if you can still hear me.
No, we
Can
can
you
hear
hear
you.
me? Okay.
Yes.
So around here, a lot of places got bought up by Indian folks. Okay, so like the places I went to as a kid, like stores, convenience stores, stuff like that. It's a lot of Indian people bought this stuff up recently. You know,
Got a
I
lot of
wonder
that
about that
around here, too.
transition with the locals. Okay, but that's more you live. Yeah, that's a different thing. Like here, I'm
Different
not
kind
saying
of
it's
Indians.
a thing, but it's a different.
Dot, not feather.
No, I'm just saying, like East Indian folks. Okay, so like.
Oh yeah, we got
You
a lot
know,
around.
I imagine what's happening over. I imagine what's happening is like some people put together some money and families came over here. So like older
Sure.
people retire and they're not being bought up. Their family stores are not being bought up by white people. They're being bought up by Indian people. That's a thing. Okay. So like I lived in Las Vegas for a while and I was part of the Divya Indian performing arts studio. And
Yeah, you were.
we did Bollywood
Ballet.
dancing. We performed a few times at
No, you were in the
major
ballet, man.
Cirque
like
du Soleil.
Cashman Center in Los Angeles or in Las Vegas.
Ooh,
No, and all that kind of stuff. So I was
that's why you
plugged,
should
there's
see
a
his
huge,
calves, ladies.
there's a huge
Yeah, I know it's huge.
Yeah, I'm plugged in with the Indian community in Las Vegas. Like in Las Vegas, there's a huge community there from the state of Kerala from India. I fucking love Indian people. I love like Indian food, cooking. Like I want to culture. I want to hang out there. So like I think it's great that like we've seen these. So there's a little convenience store on my way to work that was bought by an Indian family, and like the dude's from Punjab and his wife is from Argentina. Okay, I talked to her this morning.
That's
She's
cool.
great. So I usually don't frequent like gas stations because they don't, I eat like road food JoJo's, when I'm really young, but I'm trying to eat more healthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But like
for sure.
whatever. I don't go into many places. Yeah. So
Matt,
a couple
Matt, I
things
have
here,
to ask.
some nicotine.
Where's this going?
He let him get there.
Trust
Okay.
me. Trust
This
me.
story's gonna.
It's all about
we're taking
the
a
price of
long-
eggs. We're
taking a
talking about the
five-
price of eggs.
This was 5
We are
drinks
talking-
now. We're getting
Yeah,
a long.
yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out where
We're talking about the price of
we're at.
eggs.
You didn't look at the Discord.
The
I knew
price
where
of
it was
eggs.
going.
It's about
Okay.
the price of eggs.
But the price
It's about
of
the
eggs
price
in
of
Michigan
eggs.
is the
Yeah, thank
same.
you.
Sorry.
So let's go. So I was driving to work this morning. It's a gas station that I almost never frequent, but it's on the way to one of my
Because you
rural
don't like
stops,
Indian
okay?
people. Yeah, we got
And
over
so
that.
a lot of the places around here, instead of offering JoJo's and onion rings and all this kind of crap, greasy, unhealthy American food,
Chicken
they started
marsala,
offering and advertising
cheese
Indian
tiki
food.
marsala.
Indian food. Okay? Samosas, curry, like butter chicken, all this kind of stuff. It's now available at these gas station road stops. It's
But
so
that's
weird.
pretty
Marsala.
cool.
It's a different thing, and I appreciate it
Oh,
because
why
I am
not?
trying
That's
to eat
cool.
more healthy. Okay, so I
Sure.
went in there this morning, ostensibly to
healthy.
buy some nicotine.
He's a vegan.
I went in there this morning. I was like, some of these places, I'm like, hey,
Vegetarian.
instead of JoJo's, today I'm
gonna talk
eating
to
for
you.
breakfast samosas. It's much more healthy. It's really nice, and they're really good. And their wives make it. It's great. So really a good
Otherwise
family
hot.
culture happening with the food situation up here and all these little stops.
Right.
So I went there this morning to ostensibly buy some nicotine, and I looked at their display case, and it had some crap and American food in it, and it had some homemade samosas. And I thought, you know what? I didn't eat dinner last night. I'm going to eat this morning, so just to get it, So I bought some samosas. They're great. I've been investing in like Indian food recipes and cooking at home
Cool.
nowadays, which I talked about on the Discord this morning. As you mentioned, George,
With
thank
sunflower.
you, Scott. This is going somewhere. So, right. Yes, thank you.
Marsala.
So I asked her like where she gets the peas from to make these samosas, because what I buy frozen peas, whatever.
That's a
it's
good
not the
opening
greatest,
line. Hey,
But
where you get them peas?
but if I go down to my local farmer's market, right, it is important where you get the peas from. So you want
it
fresh
is.
peas. So I go down to my
I
local
always want
farmer's
fresh
market
peas.
and I buy fresh peas there. But the peas there are so well grown that they are the size of a quarter, literally. Okay,
That's fucking crazy.
so that's not a
You're
suitable-
telling me the peas
yeah,
inside
dude,
the
we're
pods?
growing good. Yes.
A quarter?
Yep.
So how big are the fucking pods?
Yes.
George, we've talked about
Exactly.
this before. There's a plutonium development. I don't
So-
know, whatever. There's a lot of
Haha,
uranium.
That
This
means
is-
the
shit in
pods
his
are
this
the
is
size of a goddamn
generations-
bratwurst. Are the pods the size of a bratwurst?
I'm telling you.
Exactly.
There's a lot of
So
lot
it's
of
a whole. You get like 4
nuclear
pieces per
material
pod.
in that area.
So you have to grow your own, basically, or buy more of them, right? Okay.
Right.
So the thing is, you
Or
would have
less.
to cut one. These peas are too big for the right. Because
Nobody
I
wants
make
big
pot
peas.
pies at home. Like I cook pot pies. I make the crust.
Ooh, love a
the
pot
filling,
pie.
The filling, the gravy for my pot pies. I make.
Oh hell
yeah,
Next
man.
time
That's
when
good
I come out to
American
see
food,
You,
or
you're
it's
making
actually
me a pot
British,
pie,
yeah,
but you're putting
yeah.
real meat in it, not tofu.
You got it, buddy. I'll get you. I'll put some
Chicken.
chicken in there for you. Okay.
Fuck yeah.
So I
love
make
chicken.
pot pies at
Are
home,
you
and I
allowed
want
to
real
touch
peas.
chicken?
But the
Yeah, he's
peas.
a vegetarian, not a vegan. Go ahead.
Yeah.
The peas.
What's the
So,
fucking difference?
You
Big difference.
I want fresh peas for my home pot pies at home. So I go down to the local farmer's market and I buy these huge peas, and they're too big. You have to cut them to make an even dispersal. So I talked to her about that. I'm like, hey, how do where do you get your peas from when you make the samosas?
We
Because
got
the
these
peas
testicle-
I buy, they're so big, you have
Pause,
to cut
wait,
them
wait,
in
wait,
quarters
we got
to make
these
them fit in
testicle
that.
sized
Good
peas.
opening
In that,
line,
in,
Matt.
in that
Hey,
thing.
where you get
Okay,
them peas,
okay. And she says, it's a dude's wife, guys. Come on. And she
Hey,
says,
I'm not judging.
no, yeah, we buy them. And I'm like, okay. Okay, so she
Testicle-sized peas
So
is what you're telling
she
me.
says we buy them. And she admitted that she buys her peas, which means that she means she buys them frozen, which is the way I do it. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's
Just
good for
want
chicken
fresh
pot
peas.
pie.
But she gave me the good intel. The good intel.
What is
She's
it?
like, We go down,
Yeah,
my
like
husband
it
and
before
I,
it's sticky.
to an Indian food distribution center in Auburn, which is 2 hours away. So now I know where to get my like real Indian ingredients. The
Yeah, but
point
so
is,
what does
I
this have
walked
to
into
do with
that
the
store
price
this
of
morning and I
eggs?
was waiting around. I was. Thank you. I'm telling you.
confused.
Now, so the point is, as I said, the point is, as I just said, the point is, I was coming around, I was conceding, addressing you, Scott. So the point is that I walked into this convenience store this morning, and there was no one there for about a minute and a half. Okay, so I was just hanging out, and I was browsing my phone, I was checking our Discord. It's probably where I was, talking to you, George, a bit.
I saw it.
But
The
whatever.
curry got
But
to him is why he wasn't.
yeah,
No.
yeah, that's
shut
where I was.
up.
Yeah,
Let's listen.
so that's yeah.
Pay attention.
So then so I had time to check it out, and I looked up at their food fair, and I looked up above it, and it said there was a sign that says, due to the increase in the price of eggs, the price in our breakfast burrito has been raised. And that hit me home because I love a good breakfast burrito. We talked about this in the Discord, right? There's a whole deal about breakfast burritos and like Mexican food.
If you
in
don't like
America.
breakfast, you can
So
get the
I was
fuck
like,
out of America.
but I don't notice that because I buy my. Yeah, I mean, and straight up, like I'll hand true with that. There's a few things you can put on my shirt, George, for my quotes. It's fuck Hitler, fuck Canada. I just heard you have a
Fucking
big.
head
I just
split
heard you
when
have.
they talk.
You just said I have a big dick. You just heard I have a big dick, and
Jesus Christ!
and breakfast. If you don't like if you don't like breakfast burritos, you can get the fuck out of America. I'll
Get
put
the
that on my
fuck out.
standard. So that struck home with all this political stuff that's happening in America today, and it really just couldn't encapsulate this point for me. Like, people out there are paying more for eggs that are voting based on that. I buy my eggs locally, and they've never changed in price, and we are
Right.
creating our own economy out here.
That's great. Matt, let me interrupt now.
So how much
That
is the price of
equa-
eggs out
that
there?
equates
That-
$5?
that equates it fluctuates. So there's different kind of chickens lay different kind of eggs.
Yeah, if you want the eggs, you
I
can
like the
shove
ones
up
that are
your ass.
$4
They're
a
a little
dozen
more
because they're cheap.
expensive.
They're a little bit cheaper for $4. You can find places $4 a dozen. You got duck eggs too. You know what I mean? But
The
then
duck eggs are
from
bougie.
$4 to $6 per
Fatty.
from $4 to $6 per dozen for chicken eggs is what it costs out here, Scott.
Jesus.
Yeah, they're about $4 here now.
Yeah. You know what? We should just have our own chickens.
Do it. And see
We're
if
allowed
it's
to have
worth
that.
it.
No, we're allowed
Do
to
it.
have it.
Do it and see if it's worth it.
Why wouldn't it be?
Because you're not going to get a dozen eggs.
The fuck I won't.
It's going to take a while. Sunflower posts about this in the Discord. You get some randy bitch chickens, and it's not that fun. I'm just saying.
Well, then
for me,
you kill them.
$4 to buy a dozen eggs is worth it.
I got to tell you a story.
Nope.
It is.
We're not getting
It's
into
quick.
Scott's
It's
rambling
quick. No,
family
it's
history.
quick. I swear to God, it's quick.
If this story sucks, I get to punch you in the balls.
We're down in Alabama.
Please, let's
We're
go.
down in Alabama.
Down
No,
there,
Scott.
Mom, my
This is a country
my,
song.
my
right
mom, my dad, and I.
Here.
Okay?
Mom, my dad, and I. His
Okay.
parents are divorced.
I
They
was
do
like,
not like
I'm
each
down
I
other.
was
there.
like 3 years old.
Oh, okay. This is before the divorce.
Yep, just before the divorce.
They still don't like each other.
So first of all, they couldn't find me, and they were like, "Where's Scott?"
that
well,
sounds
here I
about
am.
right. I
Hold
met
on.
your parents.
Here I am in the chicken coop, chasing around all the damn chickens.
That also sounds about right.
Okay, so they get me out
Having
of there.
known you for 20 years, it sounds like you would be chasing some chickens.
Yep, that's what happens. So anyway, they get me out of there, and they asked my great grandmother. They said, "Hey, what's for dinner?" And then there she is, grabbing the 2 chickens that don't lay eggs or very many eggs, and she's breaking their necks, and she
Right.
goes,
Sure.
"Chicken."
These bitches.
And she's taking them straight into the kitchen.
Right.
All right, end of story.
Okay.
That's all there is to it.
Accurate statement. But also, raising chickens is a lot of work.
Sure.
All
Maybe.
right. Sunflower posts about it. It doesn't sound like it's all sunflowers and rainbows, buddy.
Sunflowers and rainbows?
Yeah, I said it like that on
Yeah.
purpose because it's Sunflower that posted in there. Shout out to Sunflower again. Congratulations on the
Cheers.
nups. Big ups on the nups, I like to say.
Big ups.
Big ups on the nups. I hope you get knocked up soon. I root for more people.
Yep.
I like more Americans. Let's make them more. I'm already done. My wife and I made 3 more Americans. She's closed the factory.
I made one.
Scott made 1. Sunflower, we hope you make a bunch.
5,
Let's shoot for at least 5.
6,
Let's go 6, Sunflower. Come on.
7.
Make 7 Americans.
Yeah.
The more Americans, the better. That's for the world's sake.
Yeah. We have some friends.
Seriously,
Also, Matt, knock her up to
Sunflower,
lock her up. Let's go.
Sun-
Knock up some ladies, Matt.
Yeah, I just want to say that we wish you the best and a happy life in your marriage.
Hell yeah, we do, Sunflower.
Yeah.
Cheers.
We
Jack
So,
Simple.
We love the people in the Discord. They're very
Yeah,
fun.
Connor, man, you're the best, dude. Like we were talking
Connor's
about this.
great. I
Yeah.
wouldn't rate him best or worst because I don't like to rate our friends in the Discord,
Okay,
Matt. I
good,
know
man.
you
Good,
like
good.
to. That's a little
I'm
weird.
sorry. Yeah, Connor is one of.
I prefer just to the life of them all because that's my style. You know, that's me. I'm
Connor
happy
is a great
person.
contributor, man. Like always
He
coming
is.
through. He's. I think he's younger, but he's like
I get the feeling he
coming,
lives in New York.
coming through with the really solid, like most important news things.
But I also don't think he'd
that are
vote for
really
that
that are
socialist.
really interesting to me. So like Connor
Oh, absolutely.
brings hard. Connor brings hard facts. Okay, here's what he does. Boom, boom, boom. It's really good. Like he's coming up with stuff
Yep.
that I would never have known of. Okay, and that's the
Yep.
thing about our Discord is we have these cool people from around the
Well,
country.
then Jack Simple hits us with
contributing news sources, and we're like
Right.
talking about it together in
Yep.
real time.
Jack Simple posts on the ground stuff from LA.
Yeah. He was
Wild
there in the
shit.
he was there in the protest. Jack Simple got tear gas coming out of a
To be fair, he
a
might have had it
restaurant.
coming. I'm just
with
saying
his
he
friends.
might have had it coming. I don't know.
Yeah,
He might have
maybe
had
was,
it coming.
Maybe he was like, "No kings," that are like, "You poop."
Fuck that. We will. The best meme I've ever seen is like celebrating No Kings last week when 4th of July is around the corner. You know, like that's literally the No Kings Day is the 4th of July. That's literally what we did there. I love America. I'm going to raise my kids to love America. I'm going to make sure Scott raises his daughter to love America. Because if he doesn't, I'll punch him in the dick. That's what we do here. We love America. It's important to raise another generation that also loves America. Matt loves America.
What's there not to love?
But Scott, there's so many people that don't love America. They get caught up in this narrative about bad things happen in the past, and they think that means that America was awful. But in the history, bad shit happened everywhere. And if you only focus on the bad shit, then you're going to forget about all the good shit that led to this.
I have something to say.
Preach,
brother. If you think America's bad, I would love to have you on the podcast.
Hell yeah, come on. I'll argue with you and prove you wrong.
No, it's not even argue. We should have a discussion. Just like we had a discussion with a communist, just like we had a discussion with a Democrat, a hardcore Democrat.
Yep.
It's fine. We can talk. We can be civil.
Yep.
We can have a good,
true story,
honest conversation.
True story.
And you know what? Everybody we've talked to, except for one, we have actually found common ground and have come to some kind of consensus.
Amen.
So I think that's what we should do.
And that's where we need to get back to. You know, the difference between politics now and politics 60 years ago.
Do you think it was any less polarized?
I do.
I don't.
Because I think 60 years ago, everybody agreed about what the outcome should be. They just disagreed how we should
in
get
the
there.
1960s, they were still investigating communists.
Disagreed how we should get there, and they were right to do that.
Sure, but I'm just telling you, they were still. There were still disagreements then.
Right. Oh yeah.
So,
but you're never gonna. I don't paint history with this brush of everything was perfect back in the day.
Well, and everybody.
The same struggles we have now, we've always had.
And everybody's entitled to their opinion. And you know what? I understand. I was young one time. I was at one point in time, I was young.
False.
Okay.
Scott was never young.
I agree.
This is a lie. Don't fall for it, people.
Communist and
Scott was never young.
Hold on. Communist.
No,
and
you were
socialist...
never young, Scott. I met you when you were young. You weren't young.
Shut up for a second. Communist and socialist ideologies. Actually, I agreed with them when I was 18.
No, you didn't.
Sort of.
Don't lie.
Sort of.
Don't lie.
I did.
You understood what they meant.
No. The problem is my perspective. The only person I was thinking about at 18 was me.
No, you were thinking about pussy. I met you when you were 20 and you were still thinking about it then.
Two things. Okay. The problem is, as I've gotten older, just like you, George, when you said earlier,
very
white,
true.
Everything was white and black, and as you get older,
you see the gray.
The gray is starting to grow. And you know what? I agree. And yes, I agree that some things are unfair, but I also understand from having lived the last 40 years, I understand why those things are gray areas, and I understand why not everything is black and white.
Right. Except America's awesome.
Yeah, I can't disagree.
You want to live in a country where you can get Mexican food in the middle of the night?
America?
Yes. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
You can't even get Mexican food in the middle of the night in Mexico.
Sure you can.
No, you can't.
I've
Because
been
they're all restaurants are closed.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they are.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
I've been there.
I will punch you in the dick. Quit lying. They're
Matt,
closed.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah,
We've
what's
kind of
You want to get Chinese food, Mexican food, sushi, and all that shit on the same day? Where are you going to get that?
America.
Right. You want to have the Bill of Rights where you have the right to bear arms and the right to free speech? Where are
America.
you going to get that? Anywhere else? Last I checked, nowhere else.
No.
So we're
Unfortunately-
celebrating America today. We're celebrating 10,500 streams, and we're celebrating all the YouTube views. Thank you,
Yeah.
everybody for tuning in.
Sorry about the rambling.
Shout
No,
out
it's
to our
not
hardcore
rambling.
fans. What a
Shout out to the people on the Discord channel. If
Jack
you're not
Simple,
on the Discord channel, jump on.
Sunflower, Connor.
And
You've
also-
been making it happen. Thanks, folks.
Yes, and if you're not on the Discord channel, make your name something to do with Tropic Thunder, and that's going to help us
What was the other
recognize
guy? Sergeant something?
you. No. There was Connor.
No.
There-
Sergeant something.
we have a couple peripheral contributors, but those are the main ones.
Sergeant one might have been a commie.
Oh, that's okay.
No.
been a while
We
since
got
you've
some
been
other
on the
good folks
Discord.
here. Yeah.
Anyway,
Also, if you live in New York, please don't vote for the super socialist guy.
chick,
It's a dude, and it's a bad idea.
AOC.
No. They have a guy running for mayor that's legit a commie. He is arguing that they need to seize the means of why am I blanking on that term? 3 drinks in. Seize the means of production. The government run grocery stores. That's what he wants to put in New York. Zorhan Mondanovich or some
It
shit.
doesn't work.
Of course it doesn't work. But New York's going to learn that lesson the hard way here if they don't
You think they
backtrack.
would have already learned the fucking lesson?
But that's why we should listen to more hardcore history. Because it's so easy to not learn the lessons of history. Dan Carlin does a good job of teaching those lessons, but he can't do everything. So read about the socialists in other countries, how poorly that shit goes, and then don't vote for that shit
Well,
if you
wait a
live in
minute.
New York.
Do you really think he's going to live that way?
Of course not.
That's the problem. You want to talk about an
So
oligarchy?
the socialist that's
fucking
running in New
oligarch.
York, socialist that's running in New York, his father's a professor at Columbia and his mother's a Hollywood producer.
Even better.
Of course, he's never been poor in his life. And of course, he never had a real job until 2 years ago. And now he's going to be fucking mayor. He won the Democratic nomination to be mayor of New York. Because if you promise people free shit, they're going to vote yes.
Well, that's why we don't have. Okay, hold on. That's why the electoral college is important, at least for the presidential
yes, but this is
elections.
for city.
I know. I'm. Let me get back to that. That's why the electoral college is important. So mob rule doesn't win. The problem with mob rule is
That's why we're a constitutional republic. Not a democracy.
I understand, George. I'm
helping you. I'm like your hype man.
Yeah.
I'm like Little John going, what? That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
Constitutional republic.
Anyway, that's
Constitutional republic.
the problem is New York's been leaning that so far left lately that actually over
Not
the
lately.
past 20, 30 years.
50 years, 60
Yeah,
years.
probably. It's where you have such income disparity all within like one city block.
Word.
Anyway,
But beware of politicians promise you free shit. It's never free.
you know,
Somebody pays for it.
sure,
And if they're telling you it's going to be the billionaires that pay for it, it's not. It's going to be you.
sure.
Just know that. And also, ladies, Matt's single, and he's a great author. And now would be a great time to get in on the ground floor.
You gonna say that again?
Buy low.
One more time.
Buy low.
Sell high.
Sell high.
Jesus.
What you want to do, Scott?
I'm through doing
You wanna
work
buy
at this
low.
point. I just get to lay back and watch it happen. Yeah.
Hey, man, I do my best for you.
Yes, thank you.
We love you, Matt, and we're here for the people.
You guys are the best.
I
love
want
you
to see
guys.
more
Thanks
Americans
for
born.
the
And
show.
if that means Matt knocks up 5 ladies or 1 lady 5 times, I'm happy either way.
Sounds good.
So if there's 5 ladies out there,
More
one
likely
man
the
knocking
latter.
up, great.
Accidentally.
I hope it's you knocking up 1 lady 5 times. That's better But it's
Appreciate
better
that,
that
bro.
you knock up 5 ladies one time than
Hey,
don't knock up anybody.
I'll name one of my kids after you.
You fucking better.
Do not do that.
You
It might be
fucking
his
better.
middle name because George is
Hey,
kind
that's
of a
fine. Matt George.
No.
Bella.
George is a great name, man. George
Fuck
Bella.
yeah, it is.
Like,
It's the name of
yeah,
kings.
yeah.
You
See how many
better do it,
cousins
Matt.
or what's going on?
No, you better do it. If I had a cousin that was Signal, I would hook you up.
Oh my
Okay.
god, this has gotten so far off track. The alcohol has definitely kicked in. By the way,
That's why we're doing
I
this.
have to tell all the listeners right now, this was the plan. Everybody got drunk
100%.
and we celebrated
It
over
was the
10,000
intention of
listeners.
this episode.
10,500
Thank you, folks.
streams, all these YouTube listens. It's got to be, 10,000 YouTube streams as well. So thank you, everybody. Check out the link in the description for the merch.
And
Again.
the Hardcore History Discord.
Check out Talking Hardcore History Discord channel.
Yeah, George's got
The
the merch
merch.
right here.
Check out this shirt. Winston Churchill behind an American flag. Half American, part British. Wear the shirt to troll the British because they think they get to claim all of Winston Churchill, or wear the shirt to shame the far right who think Winston Churchill was a bad guy, which I think is stupid. And so wear the shirt to say, hey, fuck you, you idiots. Winston Churchill was great.
We need to have one with Lincoln.
Well, you come up with a cool Lincoln slogan, I'll put it on a shirt.
Sure. I'll do that.
That's your goal. But also, Matt, keep working on that book.
What would
It's gonna
Lincoln be
sweet.
saying?
Lincoln would be saying something like, check out Talking Hardcore History. It's a sweet podcast.
You know what? It would
That
say
shit's
it
dope.
would say a house divided
I think Lincoln.
cannot
I think it would be a picture of Lincoln. I think it would be a picture of Lincoln with his full top hat, his signature top hat on, the very tall one,
Sure.
and the caption would be, "I'm only wearing this hat to make me look taller."
That's funny.
I'm only wearing this hat to pick up chicks.
Yeah, that might be the move. That might be the move. This hat
No,
is for the
chicks
chicks.
dig the
Chicks
hat.
dig
Like,
it.
that's it.
Chicks dig the tall hat.
Chicks dig it.
That's
I
it.
would
Okay.
prefer it to
So
say
the main
something
piece
like,
of merch
you know,
we have for.
No,
Yeah.
but watch the link in the description for the merchandise. Also, watch out for the
All
new
right, cool.
new shirts. And if you have an idea for a dope new shirt, throw it on the Talking Hardcore History Discord
Yep.
channel, and I will just have my buddy throw it on a shirt, and you'll be able to buy it.
Yeah, we'll pay you. We'll
It,
pay
like,
you
takes no
$100 for every shirt we'll pay you $100 for every shirt
No,
that's
we won't.
sold with your
No,
ID
we
on
won't.
it.
We won't pay
What?
you anything because we won't make
What?
any money for the shirt being sold. So we will shout you out. We don't
Okay,
make
but
any
you'll
money
get
from any
your
of the shirts
brand-
sold. So
You'll
No.
get your idea out there.
Wait.
Like that's what we
yeah,
can offer.
get your idea
I
out.
do have
Cool.
a question.
What's
That's
your
even more
question?
Can't put it
valuable,
on.
really.
You want to say it now, or you want me to end the podcast?
No,
and then
we'll
you
have
can-
to end the podcast. And
Okay, well, why are you telling me now then?
Because I don't want to forget.
Okay, so sorry, Scott's got fucking pothead memory brain.
Whoa. That's
Go
been
way
like
back.
15 years ago.
Yeah, but it still lasts. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening or watching. We love you. We really appreciate every listen. And please, if you have comments or questions or ideas for the podcast or just based on this conversation, go to Talking Hardcore History Discord channel and go in the go to Hardcore History chat, Hardcore History discussion Discord channel, and then go to the Talking Hardcore thread, and you'll be good to go.
I think this is a waste of breath. Nobody is listening this far in.
Oh no, there's still at least Sunflower and Simple Jack listening.
Yeah, nobody's listening this far.
No, at least 5 people are listening.
Sunflower's listening at like 2 times speed.
Hardcore
That's
history
true.
discussions is the name of the
Yeah.
is the name of the Discord.
All right, we love everybody.
Hardcore history
Thank you
discussion
so much.
is the
Yeah, Hardcore
Love you
History
guys.
Discussions
Thanks.
Discord channel.
Thanks
Thanks
for listening.
everybody.
Peace.